Hello, I'm Rael Seeley and welcome to my channel. It's been a bit since my last video, so I figured I would do something nice and easy and not very serious. In this case, it's going to be me ranking prints that have honey and bears in the print. Now this one is pretty specific, and if you can't tell yet, I'm wearing Angelic Pretty's Honey Cake. So Honey Cake is one of those prints where if you're a sweet Lolita, or even if you're not, you've probably heard about it. It is one of those Angelic Pretty pieces that still goes for a high amount, even though it has been re-released relatively recently too. And due to it being more available, I've been thankfully seeing more people wearing it, and even more fun is people making meats relating to it. So I'm very lucky in that my comm is currently planning one of these meats. And it got me thinking about what other pieces out there have honey and bears, but maybe aren't as well known, but could be alternatives for people who honey cake isn't their thing. So with the use of Lolliberry, I was able to find a few other pieces, main pieces specifically, that had honey and bears as their motif, and I've put them in this tier maker where I will be ranking them. So the first rank is the top tier, and it is called Honey, You're a Star. These are pieces that I absolutely would love to have in my wardrobe. I feel like they're great, they match my style and my taste, and there's really nothing else to be said. The next one right under that is Very Good. These are pieces that I think are awesome, but they just barely miss the mark for one reason or another. Maybe it's good, but it's not one I have to have in my wardrobe. But it could end up there one day, who knows. The mid tier is Bear and Honey Are Present. I feel like this is the bare minimum of like, yes, it's there. It's not my taste. C tier is C tier. It's the spot between Bear and Honey Are Present and the lowest tier. So halfway between that middle, like, okay, it's there, and that I don't think so, bottom of the bottom for these ones. And then the bottom tier is, of course, like, what were they thinking when they put this together? It's just not my style at all, and there are things that I see that I would actively change. As expected, of course, this is my personal opinion. So I'm excited to look through all these. And these probably are not all of the honey and bear prints out there. If you know of any others, definitely let me know. I was also looking at some of the Winnie the Pooh prints because I expected if he's there, the honey is probably there. And surprisingly, that was not the case for most of them. So these are just the ones that I could tell honey and bears were there. Here we go. So the first one is a Taobao brand called Morning Glory. There were 3 releases in this set, a Salope, a JSK, and an OP. The colorways were cutely named after food, which I always like, with the lightest colorway being called Milk Tea, and that's more of like a pinkish beigey color, at least according to the stock image provided. We have Milk Chocolate, or just chocolate, which is the middle color, and then we have Dark Chocolate, which is dark chocolate. And that one is more of like a black colorway. And this is where I started to figure out that chocolate and honey both usually appear on the same piece. I didn't realize this was such a common reoccurring thing until I made this, and I was actually looking at it right now. But Honey Cake has a bottle of chocolate sauce on it. This one is clearly got a bit of a chocolate idea going on with the square pattern reminiscent of chocolate bars. Also the naming scheme with chocolate and dark chocolate. Checkered or block pattern reminds me a lot of a chocolate bar with how you would break it off along the lines. And When I look at these bears, they're definitely very reminiscent of Kuma Kumya from Baby the Star Shine Bright, but it is also just that generic cutesy bear that we see. So I don't think it's like one of those ones where it's like, this is, you know, copying. I think it's just generic cute bear. What I like about it is that there's teacups on this print. So we'll see if I can find a version of that. So now looking at the JSK, we can see some of the details a bit easier. In terms of JSK construction, I always love when the straps of the dress have this little ruffle. So that's a plus for me. It has a pin tuck lined bodice in the center with 3 bows, very typical Sweet Lolita construction here. The bow in the front is a bit basic. It's just a straight across line at the bottom. I think it'd be cute if maybe the bottoms were shaped a bit, but it's not bad. And this is the milk tea colorway for the JSK. We've got strawberries and flowers, which makes sense. What I really like is this teacup. I always love to see teacups on prints, and I think it makes sense here with the honey being a popular additive to tea. Something I also want to note is that I love a border print more than an all-over print, and this one is a border print. I like that they have their print set up where the background is clearly defined. It is a strip of lace with ribbon running through it. I think that's a really nice touch. The only thing here, and maybe it's just the way this is shot since I couldn't find any photos that was just the print itself, but the teacup here looks pretty empty in its surroundings, which have all these flowers and goodies next to them. There's just a bunch of empty space around the teacup. The OP I think is really cute. I like that it has this cuff with the single stripe through it. Bodice is cute. We've got a Peter Pan collar, and then we've also got a nice rounded yoke. Yokes are pretty hit or miss for me, but I like the style of this one in particular. I would say that compared to some of the honey and bear pieces that we see later on, I don't necessarily find this one to be the cutest. I don't think it's bad, especially if you're a beginner. I feel like the OP in particular would be something that's really easy to wear. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting Morningstar's Honey Bear, Salape, JSK, OP series in the middle tier. Bears and honeys are present just because it's not a bad print by any means, but there are things I would tweak about it, whether it is with the print itself or in the construction, but I definitely think like it's not a bad piece at all. So that will bring us on to our next one, which is going to be Dear Celine. Now, Dear Celine is interesting because I feel like I often see them for doing more classic Lolitas, so I wasn't really aware that they did Sweet Lolita as well. They're another Chinese indie brand, and they also had 3 releases for this print series. Little Bear Bakery is what it's called. They have a Salape, a JSK, and an OP, so pretty standard stuff. Up first we have the Salape, which I really like. I like that it has a variety of patterns going on, so down the front we get these polka dot bows, but the bodice itself has a diagonal line, which is really fun, being cut off by what looks to me like it could be a belt or it could hold a belt. So if you have this piece and you know for sure that it can or that it has that, let me know, because I can't tell if it's one of those decorative pieces, but I think it looks pretty cute. We are again seeing chocolate involved with honey and bears, which again, not what I expected going into this, but pretty cool. So there must be some kind of connection there that I don't know about. But here the bears look like they're having a bit of a party. They've got balloons and they have so much cake and cupcakes and sweet treats, and the bottom is just oozing with chocolate on top of a chocolate background. So this one's really cool just because it has a lot going on, but I feel like it's busy in a way that is complementary and doesn't detract from the print itself. Let's see. It has 3 colorways, also named after food, and I think if you're doing a food-based series, it just makes sense to go after food, especially if it's chocolate. So we have the lightest colorway, which is white for white chocolate, I'm assuming. Caramel, which is that in-between shade, and chocolate. So this one's the white Latte. And when we look at some of the other design styles, we can see more of the details. So this is the JSK. It has a square yoke in the front. I'm not really a fan of yokes that much, to be honest. And seeing one that's square doesn't really sit well with me. But I think it works because the absolute bottom of the border print is this square chocolate pattern. But I don't know. I think if given the choice, I would say no yoke. That's for me. But we have a lot of fun patterns. So you could wear this with stripes or with polka dots pretty easily. Because of the chocolate bar pattern on the bottom, I could even see gingham working, which is this little checker pattern here. Looking at the colors you can pair this with, because of the balloons being yellow, pink, and blue, I think this would be a really flexible and complementary piece to have in someone's wardrobe. They also have some of the bears wearing crowns, which allows you to have more of like a regal, inspired cord. And I think this is the chocolate or the caramel colorway. Let's see. Yeah, that one was definitely the caramel colorway, because I see there's a bit of a darker one, which I can only assume is the chocolate one. I don't know, it looks much darker, but then I pick on it and it doesn't look that dark after all. Okay, yeah, so this one here, this one's definitely the caramel colorway. We can see the honey a bit easier. There's some florals and some candies. But it definitely seems more like a party theme than a honey and a bear theme. And it just feels very chocolatey too, which isn't a bad thing, but I wanted these to focus on the honey and the bears. Yeah, I don't know. I like this piece a lot though. I like that it has stripes. Vertically, it has them horizontally. We saw them diagonally on the Latte. These bears also are much fluffier compared to, let's see if I can get a good picture. Alright, I want more of a close-up on these bears, so let me see if I can find one. Alright, so this is the best view of the bears that I could find, where you can see that they all have crowns on, and they're all very cute. The chocolate bottle has Dear Celine on it, which I like as well. The honey is clearly labeled as sweet honey. So there we are there as well. And I will say I find these bears to be a lot cuter than the previous bears from Morning Glory. They have more of a semi-realistic but still cutesy, cartoony feel to them. And I feel like with the Morning Glory ones, they didn't look fluffy, so to me it didn't look like skin, but it just looked too smooth for what I would want out of a bear on a print. So this is a nice fluffy bear. The sitting one in particular, the leg of it reminds me of an older style of teddy bear where you could move the arms and the legs independently. So I think this one is really cute. The OP is not bad either, and it has one of my favorite things in Lolita, which is ties. they seem to be making a bit of a resurgence, especially with the old school resurgence that we're seeing. More ties, which I think is fun. Yeah, there's a lot of what I would assume maybe are detachable bows on this collar. And I will say that I feel like this white collar works for the dark colorway and the white colorway, but I'm not sure how much I like it on the caramel middle colorway. And maybe it's just the lighting too. But I feel like for more of like the middle caramel one, you might have to do more balancing with legs. You might have to do more balancing with your leg wear, so maybe like an ivory sock with a chocolate colored ribbon, or just like a white base sock with a chocolate pattern on it. But I think you would have to do more of a chocolate root here with the OP. I still think it's really cute, and comparing it to the Morning Glory one, I like the Dear Celine one a lot more. It has a lot of patterns and colors to work with. The bears are fuzzy, which I like. And while the honey does feel like an afterthought compared to the chocolate motif, it is still there. And I think this one would be really cute. I like this one. Something also with the Dear Celine photo shoot is it looks like they have Kuma Kumia in the back with their model photos. So you see baby's influence, and it makes sense. I feel like the last two had some baby influence, but this one maybe strays a little more further away from it, despite there being bears. But interestingly, in the white colorway, the stock photo shows a different bear near the base of the table, which I actually think looks more like the bear they have on their dress. So, yeah. So speaking of Baby the Star Shine Bright, our next main piece that we're going to be looking at is by Baby the Star Shine Bright. And it is their Kuma Kumia Sweet Honey Hunt JSK. They have other things they released as well with the skirts. I don't think there was an OP, but with Baby, it's pretty standard for them to release 2 cuts of the JSK. Usually one that is more plain on the bodice and an empire waist, and one that has a little razzle-dazzle up at the top and maybe has a lower waist. In this case, we're doing that one because I liked the way it looked. In this case, we're looking at the Judy cut of this JSK. It has a little bar at the top. And this one has 4 colorways. It has ivory, it has pink, it has brown, and it also has black for the colorway. So we've got some variety. And what I really like about this is that it balances a lot of different patterns and directions in a way that I think works. So I have the brown colorway up. I've been more a fan of brown colorways recently, and I think this is one of the more successful colorways for me. So we have stripes on the ribbons themselves, including the printed ribbon that separates the border print from the rest of the piece. We also have polka dots behind the featured portion of the border print, which in this case are different kumias than we usually see for Baby the Star Shine Bright. And I like that this piece gives those other kumias a chance to really shine. And if we were to look at a close-up of the border print, something that sticks out to me is that on the absolute bottom of the border print, there's various shapes at the bottom, which are different tags of types of honey. So they have Manuka honey, they have orange blossom and clover honey. I just think that's very thoughtful and very honey conscious. I also like these bears. I like the blue one specifically because I love blue and she's very cute. It also has glass bottles, which is a favorite theme of mine. It's a very popular theme in Lolita, is glass jars. And looking at the upper part of the print, not the border print, I own Heart Marble Chocolate, and these stripes that are going vertically down, the pattern with all the florals and the actual heart-shaped chocolates with that little white swirl. It reminds me a bit of Heart Marble chocolate, which I'm already a fan of. So for that reason, I feel like this has to be in Honey, You're a Star. If we're looking at the piece, I think the colorways can be, for my taste, hit or miss. I'm not usually a fan of pink colorways, and I think this one, unfortunately, really suffers from when we compare it to the other colorways. So the pink colorway is like a little extreme. There's so much light pink in it, and then we just have a very dark shade of brown. I think this could really make or break the piece, depending on how you chord it. I would struggle to figure out how I can balance that dark brown. I feel like I'd have to wear a brown top every single time. That being said, I'm sure someone has been able to balance it really well outside of that, but just for my own taste and knowing my wardrobe, I think this would be the hardest one for me to get. I also think some of the florals really disappear in it, and we have a pink ribbon on the top that is striped and printed. I wonder how that would look if maybe it was brown instead, or if some of the ruffles were changed in color with the lace. I just think of the colorways, this one is the wacky one. And that's not a bad thing because I love a wacky thing, but it would be a real challenge for me. Honey, You're a Star, I still love her. You can get a close-up here of that chocolate I was talking about. I'm almost certain it is also on Heart Marble chocolate, but maybe it just is reminiscent of it. Yeah, we get a little closer look up of that border print here. I think this is the ivory. Yeah, this is the ivory colorway. Honey was on the mind, and I think it really paid off for them here on this tier list. Following that, we have another Taobao indie brand, and that is Honey Honey's Annie's Breakfast, printed version, JSK. They have 3 releases for this. They have the JSK, they have a skirt, and they have an OP. There's aspects of each that I like, but first let's go into the print itself. So there's 2 official colorways. It is smoky white and smoky gray pink. These muted colors remind me a lot of Hai Nuli's most recent Winnie the Pooh release. I had one of the accessories, I think it was the beret. So I like it. These particular colorways to me read more as a mature suite. It's not like a cutesy pink or cutesy like white. JSK, we have a yoke, but it is of the same material, which to me doesn't stand out as much, and I like that, just because I'm not much of a yoke fan. So to me it looks like just bodice details with the same fabric. I don't believe this has any waist ties, at least looking at the back of it, which I found very interesting because the skirt has really nice waist ties that I wish were here. The bottom of the JSK has a different pattern to it than the rest, which I don't mind at all. But the print here is so cute. We've got a lot of different animals that I don't always get to see on Sweet Lolita prints. Namely, we have giraffes, and we have a tabby cat that's more of a brown tabby, which is kind of a rarity. You also have these little Peter Rabbit looking bunnies. It just looks more like a storybook, which I appreciate. And our bear in question has their hand in the honey, which is quintessential honey and bear interaction, you know? I like that the bear's the chef. They have a little hat. It's really cute. And I find this art style just to be so satisfying. The OP itself is really cute. It's got more of an older retro style to it. Ruffles and pin tucks. It's just a really nice OP. I like that it's short sleeved. Yeah, I actually really find this to be a very cute piece. The stock photos for the OP show waist ties, and I'll show you the skirt in a second, which has the same waist ties. but it doesn't look like the JSK has them, and I think that's my only criticism for the JSK is that I love waist ties and I wish they would have had it. But what I really like about the waist tie, and I'll bring us over to the skirt where you can see it more clearly. The waist tie and the bottom trim both have this tartan gingham plaid situation, so it's very complimentary. It also matches the tablecloth, which I didn't realize before, but seeing the skirt up close, we can get these details. The front of the skirt, it's pretty cute, it's plain. I think it's interesting that they've added polka dots to the waist part of the skirt. But if we look at the bottom of the pattern here, there is some dots, so I guess it mirrors that way, but I feel like I would have appreciated if the square gingham-y tartan situation was at the top as well. This is a really cute piece, and I think while the previous ones were more cutesy and things of that nature, this is a more mature style despite it looking more like a children's book. The illustrations feel more semi-realistic. So I'm going to be putting Honey Honey's Annie's Breakfast in Very Good. I find it delightful. Following that, we have Angelic Pretty's most recent Honey and Bear related print, and that is Honey Bear's Cafe. This one had a skirt, a JSK, and an OP, as well as a lot of accessories and side things associated with it. And I remember this one coming out and it was a bit mixed in terms of feelings. A lot of people felt like it was ugly, just to be frank, and a lot of people thought it was great. And some people were in the middle where they felt like, oh my gosh, it was so close to being a total hit, but there are just a few design aspects that really didn't make the print shine as much as it could have. It is an all-over print, which typically is my least favorite style of main piece print. But it's a scaled all-over print, which is interesting. So the main repeat is designed as this border print, but it just gets smaller as you go up. Or they are smaller as they go up. I have the OP here, and I agree. I think it's really tough. I agree with a lot of the criticisms I've seen. So if you're not familiar with these criticisms, a lot of people don't like the way the collar of the OP looks. People feel like it looks a little more like an egg dripping as opposed to a honey dripping. I have an example of a piece that has a dripping collar detail, and that would be Baby's Kumya Sweet Ice Cream JSK. One of the cuts has a dripping collar, but the drips are more pronounced, which I feel like works better and has more design clarity compared to AP's collar here. And maybe it's that blunt stop of the yellow. Maybe if they had some of, for example, this color, the pink at the collar, or something to break it up. And they probably wanted enough room to put the Angelic Pretty embroidery on, which I get, but there's something about it that just feels a little unfinished. If you look at the shoulders, it could just be how they photographed it, but one side is completely covered by the drip, while the other side is pushed over just a little bit. The waist bow is not the most exciting. It really just isn't. It's just a piece of fabric that they tied into a bow, and they just sewed it bluntly at the end. I think if they had changed the pink here to being this yellow that the collar is, maybe that would have added some cohesion. And then they just have plain mint colored lace, where it could have been the yellow from the top or the pink. I think there's just these little aspects here that are missing. But if we're looking at the print itself, I do think the bears are very cute. They're reminiscent of honey cakes bears. They are sitting on jars of honey. They've got lemonade, they've got daisies, and I feel like that is very honey forward with their products here. We can look down at some of the other colorways. So apparently there was a pink colorway that was, oh no. So I didn't see the honey from the back on the OP before. And I don't know. I think it's different. I think the pink colorway works more than the mint, which is weird because I love mint a lot more. But at least with the pink, why are the wrists gray? Is it gray? So this is frustrating to me because I looked at the pink colorway and I started to enjoy it a bit more, despite not liking pink. But it looks like the wrist cuffy thing here is gray. And maybe it's just brown, but it looks gray, and I don't really like that. And I think, looking at the pink again, I wish they would have just removed this waist bow. But the pink appears to be more limited. At least when I read through the Library, it was only in select stores and online. Then we have this brown colorway, which I think at first it's a bit jarring, but I actually like it a lot. I don't know. But it has teacups, and the teacups are cute. Oh, I don't know about this one. I have to look up the other cuts just to know. Oh, so there wasn't a skirt. It was just a JSK. I just assumed it was a skirt too, because usually they do that. The JSK, it's cuter. The yellow of the top is still so different from most of the yellows down here, so maybe that's where I'm not liking it. And it looks like maybe the straps for the pink colorway are brown, but they're covered in a lace. So maybe for the OP, the wrist, not the wrist cuff, but maybe the cuff is not black, but chocolate or brown with a lace overlay. I don't know. We'll look at the colors. I like the mint one here more than I did for the OP, but I don't, there's parts of this dripping that I just don't know about. And the bow on the front is bothering me. Here's the model photo. The model photo looks pretty good. I think people were concerned about the blouse too. And I don't really think it's bad. I think it's just personal aesthetic taste. The embroidery is pretty cute. I actually think that's really cute for the embroidery. And look at this little bear with the bow. And coordinating wise, oh! Okay, so it's a gingham. I thought it was covered in lace, but it's gingham. This changes my opinion a bit. I think it's cuter and you could do some picnic-related cords with this one very easily. And I understand with the cafe theme, they're going more of like a diner design with this collar. Yeah. But I also wanted to talk about some of their other products that they released. So they had this parka where, just from the front on, the ears are definitely more mouse to me, but it's still cute and I like that it's cropped. Yeah, I'm just gonna let us look at these ones. I have to go to the next one. So then the headpiece that I wanted to look at here was the headband. I don't like it, just to be frank. It reminds me of a pasta noodle. The crimped edges of the butterfly pasta, but they've done really cute bear ears in the past. And I don't really understand why they added these rounded parts to the ears. Maybe it was to look like flowers. I feel like they had a lot of ideas here. And that's what I have to say about that. I don't really like it. I'm putting it in C. I'm just going to agree with a lot of people in that, for me, I think it came close to a lot of things, but I'm just not that crazy about it. But in typical AP fashion, I'm sure if I saw it in person, I would like it a lot more. I tend to enjoy seeing how people style things more than the actual photos that they come with. Alright, this video is getting long, so I'm going to try and go faster. We have an Emily Temple Cute piece, which is packaging print, and this is one I found out about during the discovery process on Lollibrary. And I think this one is pretty cool. I like this one. I'm assuming it's the dark pink colorway, because there's 3 colorways. Pink, white, and dark pink. I think this must be the dark pink, because there's dark pink on light pink. And I like this kind of two-toned situation where it's the same color, just two-toned, basically. I think it's cool. They also had other versions of this print, so they had totes, they had pants. If you have this piece, or a piece from these series, especially in different colorways, it doesn't look like Lollibrary has all colorways, so that could be something you contribute. The bear itself is a little scary, but there's a couple different bears to choose from. So the one on the top part of the bodice is your typical honey bear that you would see. The one that is a little scary for me is the cookies one, but I can recognize that he's reminiscent of a different era and influence. It's more retro for sure. Yeah, it's definitely more retro, but I don't think it's bad. It's kind of kooky. It's from 2004, so like that makes sense. It's different. Would I own this? Definitely not. But do I like it? Yes, I do like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. So incomplete colorways here. If you have it, definitely. It'd be cool to see the other colorways. It's a unique one. So for that, I'm gonna put it. Very Good to me says if it showed up, I wouldn't be upset. But bears and honey are present is like you've completed the assignment. I'm gonna put it tentatively in Very Good, but I think it could go in between. I don't think it's mid-tier because I like that it did something different, but it is from a different time. So at the time, maybe it wasn't something different, you know? It'd be cool to see. I'm gonna put it in Very Good. So moving right along, we have Baby the Star Shine Bright yet again. It is their Clockwork Tea Party JSK, or Clockwork Tea Party Lumiere. This one, I felt like the honey was implied, and I also just wanted to include it because when we see a lot of these honey and bear themed pieces, the colorways tend to be, they're usually very bright sweet. So there's pink, there's mint, there's white. There maybe could be like a chocolate theme going on as we've seen with the other ones. This was the only one I saw that had something very different, which is red and navy blue. And I think that could be an untapped potential in terms of colorways. But if we look at our beautiful little bear, it's a teddy bear. They're enjoying a nice cup of tea, and there's these jars where in my head I'm like, well, maybe there's honey in it. And it was just an excuse for me to talk about it, really. There's butterflies here, which I love. I don't think we see enough butterflies on prints. So that was the ivory colorway. The red colorway is gorgeous, but I like that it has these gold coming down, and it reminds me a lot of like keys. It's a border print, so I'm a fan of that. Let's see, looking at the other colorways, some of the details stand out a bit more. It's definitely a little Alice in Wonderland feeling, but a lot of Baby's prints, especially from this time, are like that. This time being 2011, so it came out somewhat close to Honey Hunt JSK. There's a book. That's pretty cool. Okay, I see sugar cubes there. I think the blue colorway is really cool though, because you have blue cakes. And I love blue. That being said, the honey is not super visible, and it might not even be there, but I just wanted to talk about it. So I have to put it in C, because the honey was not being celebrated. And there may not be any honey to celebrate, but I really liked it, especially that blue colorway, and I just wanted to talk about it. Ooh! Our next one is Shirley Temple, which is one I don't usually look at. or know much about, but I know the people that like Shirley Temple really like it. So this is honey and flower print skirt. It says there's children's sizes. I'm curious if this is like, I don't know. I'm just curious to how this works. So this is a skirt, clearly. It came in a pink colorway, and I think this one is just your basic standard. There's flowers, there's an assortment of honey and bread goods, which they go well together, honey and bread. The jar of honey being the bear shape, very typical. I think this really hits high marks for me. The pattern it's printed on, there's a mimicry of eyelet lace along the bottom, like a doily situation. I just really like it. I really like this piece. I wish there was more versions of it. And while it's an all-over piece, it doesn't feel overwhelming. There's polka dots, which is nice. And yeah, so this is Shirley Temple's honey flower print skirt. There's croissants too, which I don't think any of the other ones had croissants, and they have these little cookies that have the jam in the middle. So it seems like this one only had a pink colorway, which is a shame for me just because I don't like pink. But it is nice that I got to find out about this piece through Lollibrary. I would be really happy to see this one in person, so I'm going to put this one in very good just because it would be cool to see. Which means that looking at the package print JSK from Emily Temple Cute, I'm going to have to move it down to Bear and Honey Are Present, just because I would not be as excited to see that one compared to the Shirley Temple one. Not a bad thing, just stiff competition. That really is what a lot of this is stiff competition. The next one coming up is a very popular one, whether you're a Crown Label or a Metamorphose fan, or even if you're not, it seems like this is a really loved release. So this is Metamorphose's sister brand, Crown Label, and having been at the panel with Metamorphose last year at TechO in the audience, they stated that they would not be releasing Crown Label going future just because they no longer feel the need to separate their main brand into a sister brand, which I understand, but this is one of those pieces where I wish they would re-release. There's a lot of Crown Label pieces I wish they would re-release, but this is up high. And what I really like about Crown Label is that when they release something, and Meta in general, of course, when they release something, especially like back in the day, but like 10 years ago, 2010, they would release it in a lot of different cuts and sizes. So this is one example of the print in question, Honey Picnic. And what I like about it is it has that typical Sweet Lolita heart-shaped apron. It is detachable, but I thought this would be the best way for us to view it. So it has mint, my favorite color for anything, but it also has the most beautiful lavender colorway. Let's see if we can get a close-up of the print itself. Looking at the bodice, there's a bear on the bow, which is so cute. We're seeing the picnic inspiration with this background grid pattern. Oh, the back of it, I didn't realize, is just like a plain tiered version. So I wonder if the apron part of the skirt, which has the honey picnic pattern, I wonder if that's removable. It looks like it could be removable. I can't tell. Oh, so this is pretty cool. So it looks like the way that they did this honey picnic skirt with apron release is that the skirt portion was the non-border part, and then the heart apron, the part of the bottom of the apron had the print on it. So I think that's cool because it's like you're getting two things in one. I feel like it'd be hard to layer that apron on top of anything else besides this skirt, but I think it could be done with solids maybe. I don't know. I think it'd be fun to work with. But let's see if we can get a different look at the actual print itself. This one is really popular. All of Crown Label in general has been extremely difficult to get your hands on for what it used to go for, and that's like with a lot of things, especially now. But the reason for that is that they're usually very size inclusive and comfortable. I have a Crown Label piece and it's great. It's cotton. It stretches in a good way. It's just a lot of meta from this time fits very well. So here's the close-up of the actual pattern itself. We've got cute little teddy bears, and they look different from all of the bears we've seen so far, notably. But it's still that cute little teddy bear style. A pile of pancakes, which we've seen in some other pieces so far, or we will. And then this nice jar of honey that they are holding. They have flowers. They're on a picnic. The bears are on a picnic themselves, which is really cute. The trees being done with just these stripes, I think is a nice touch. Overall, I feel like this piece has a really good color balance. And like the bodices stuff that they have going on here is just really interesting, looking at a different JSK cut of it. There's all these ruffles, very wide straps too. I'm trying to figure out if these are eggs, but I think it might be a jar of honey, but it's kind of hard to tell from the image scan quality. Yeah, it's definitely honey. Oh, they've got a little piano. Oh my god, it's so cute. The buttons are little flowers, which is cute. They're holding flowers. They're all over the skirt. The waist tie looks great. I just really like Honey Picnic, and I would love to have it some way. Probably, preferably, in the mint colorway, but the lavender is really cute too. This is one I would love to have. It would be hard to find it for a price that I'd be willing to pay. And also, since I don't like to wear pink, it would narrow down my options even further. But it's going to be in honey or a star because it is a star. And I'm going to put it before Baby the Star Shine Bright's Honey Hunt JSK, just because this one is more of a top priority for me. Not in this particular cut. I like this cut, but just the series itself, it's a good one. And we have our final piece, the grand finale, and that is going to be Angelic Pretty's Honey Cake series. This is a series that has had 2 releases, one in 2011 and one a decade later in 2021. And there's some pretty big differences between the two. But before we get into that, we can talk about the history, I guess, of Honey Cake. So I joined not long after the pre-order for the re-release happened. I didn't take part in it because I was still trying to figure things out on my own. But from what I understand, and even looking through past lace market sales, this one used to go for a lot, like a lot. And I think it also happened to be during that period where people in the US were getting stimulus checks, so then pieces that were already sought off for, like Honey Cake or Sugary Carnival, were skyrocketing even higher because people had this income that they were just willing to spend at the time. And I think there's a lot that goes into that too, like people's morale was probably not very high, and there's definitely an impulse purchasing aspect of Lolita that can be talked about, and during an especially sad time you know, or a difficult time. Yeah, but this one has always seemed to go for a lot. People have really liked it. It has 3 or 4 colorways. There's an ivory colorway, there's a yellow colorway, which is on screen right now. There's a pink colorway, and there's a mint colorway. So you can already guess which one is my favorite, the mint. I'm wearing the 2011 switching version, so the switching has this white yoke here. And my ultimate version of this dress that I would like to own would be the 2011 switching version. So the original series had an OP, which was short-sleeved, and that one's pretty cute. They had a JSK round, which doesn't have the switching, and instead has a column of bows. And they have a the switching version, which has the yoke. Looking at the print, it's very cute. So we're loading it up now. There's a bear right here, the honey bear. Chocolate syrup in the background. There's this pancake pile, which you've probably doused, I'm guessing. It's either butter or it's honey, but the proximity to honey tells me it's honey. But it could be butter melting as well. Oh, and they had a skirt released of this too. They also have a box of pancake mix, so if you're not very privy to this side of Sweet Lolita, they do have a bag version of this pancake mix box. It usually goes for a fair amount, but I've heard that it peels pretty badly because it is pleather, and that kind of like plastic leather does peel. So the longevity of that item is not very high. Here we can see the Honey Cake series announcement where it shows that, oh look, there's socks, and these are all the colorways and cuts that you could possibly get. Now, when they released the 2021 version, they did the switching JSK, but they also did the round JSK. Except for the round JSK, they did not do the mint colorway, which is my preferred colorway. There's also 2 other pretty big differences too. The 2011 release of it was in cotton, while the 2021 version was in polyester. And having owned the polyester one before, I did not like the way that it laid on me. I did not find it flattering to my body shape or in the way that I like things to lay on me. It definitely works for some people. One of the other aspects of this release is that I believe it is more plus size friendly, at least by AP standards. So their plus size I don't think is actually true plus size, but there's more wiggle room than you would get with the original 2011 release, which is impressive. Yeah, I really didn't like the way this polyester laid on me. And while the MTO and the re-release of Honey Cake has resulted in the price going down a fair amount, because the mint round, which is my ideal version of this dress, was not re-released in the round, the prices for that one have not dipped as much. But I am glad that they have brought this version around. That way more people can wear Honey Cake, and that's where I've been able to see some of my favorite photos, which are these mass twinning meets of Honey Cake. I like it for any piece, but Honey Cake is one of those ones that a lot of people do the mass twinnings for. The OP of 2011 is really cute as well, and I like that it has this little clip-on bow. That's super cute. Having owned 2 versions of this piece though, makes my rating a bit conflicted, because I do think the 2011 release is superior in that it's a cotton fabric that lays on me better than the, well, that's not supposed to be, oh, but I can't move it. Well, I'll be moving it. So the difficulty here for the Honey Cake one is that I think the 2011 fabric, being the cotton and it's a thicker cotton, is superior. It also has the round in mint, which is wonderful, and the OP, which is super cute. The OP from 2011 has full back shirring, and I really do wonder just how flexible that back shirring is, because it is also very cute. However, I don't like what they did with the MTO. Something about the fabric just isn't as nice, and it may be more accessible in sizing, but I wish that, I don't know, I just wish it had come out a bit differently. I didn't back this pre-order or the MTO, so at least I kind of knew what I was getting into with it. Yeah. So I'm going to put it in very good just because 2011 cotton is my favorite. My favorite colorway and cut are locked in 2011. There's no option for 2021. Oh, I don't know. So let's look at it. We've got Meta's Honey Picnic and Honey You're a Star, either the mint or the lavender colorway. Almost any of the releases. We have Baby the Star Shine Bright with their Honey Hunt JSK in brown. I think the pink would be very difficult to balance, but I am curious to see people cord that one. Very good, so that's not the best, but it's not bad. We have Dear Celine, Little Bear Bakery. I like all the different patterns and angles that we get. I like that it is balancing chocolate with bears and a little bit of honey. I think there could be more honey if I'm being very picky, but I still think it's very good. After that, we have Honey Honey's Annie's Breakfast, which I thought was cute. It's more of a mature honey bear print. It has a more classical storybook style. There's a giraffe in the window, which I don't always see. They have a brown tabby cat, again, a rare sight. And then after that, we have Shirley Temple's Honey and Flower skirt, I believe. It was only released in pink from what Lollyberry was able to tell me, but it was very cute. Very retro. Just, it's very cute. Angelic Pretty's Honey Cake, which I'm wearing today. I think it's an iconic print. A lot of Sweet Lolitas enjoy it, so yeah. We have in our mid-tier where there's nothing really wrong with these, they're just not for me, or maybe there is like tweaks that I would make to it. We have Morning Glory's Honey Bear series. I thought this one was cute, but there were just a few things missing. Maybe it was just the photo, but the spacing of the teacup with nothing around it bothered me. I also think the bears could have been cuter. They were okay bears. They were cartoon bears, but they weren't really anything to write home about. Then we have Emily Temple's cute packaging print, which I really like in this pink on pink dual toned print. We don't get a lot of dual toned prints, so seeing this was really nice. The cookie jar was unsettling, but I don't think it was incorrect for the retro feeling that it was inspired from. I've definitely seen cookie jars like that, especially in retro vintage, like cookware, bakery stuff, whatever. So it makes sense. C tier, we've got the newest Angelic Pretty Honey and Bear related release, which is Honey Bear's Cafe. I think this series has a lot of potential. I have basically all of the same complaints that everyone else who does have complaints has about this. The yellow dripping is a little bit weird for me because I feel like it doesn't match any of the other yellows on the print itself. I don't like the waist bow, and I think that they could have balanced some of the colorways a little better. That on top of it being an all-over print when I'm just not a huge fan of all-over prints makes it into the C tier for me. Then we have what may or may not be a Honey and Bear print, but what I just wanted to talk about. Baby the Stars Shine Bright Clockwork Tea Party series. I really like the blue colorway of this. The blue tea reminds me of the blue pea or butterfly pea tea. I think this is a really cool dress, but again, I don't think it actually has honey on it. I just wanted to talk about it. And with that being said, I think my tier list is done. So nothing really made it into the category because I think there's good attributes about all of these pieces. But the only two that I would actually be wild about owning are Honey Picnic, possibly Honey Hunt JSK in the brown, And then this one I know for sure. I mean, I own honey cake, clearly, but I would like the round and mint if I'm making a little list. Although the OP is cute too. So if you have the OP with the back shirring, how flexible is it really? Because I know AP shirring is really a hit or miss game. But that's all I really have to talk about today. This one ended up being much longer than I expected. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I will get back to making more and more videos in the future. Yeah, if you want to see more of what I do, I'm most active on Tumblr at Royal Sealy. I'm on Instagram at Royal Sealy, but I haven't had it downloaded for a long time, so I really just go on it on desktop every now and then. I was on Blue Sky, and I might try to get back into Blue Sky, but it got kind of difficult because not many people were on it. I did like that Dandy Puppeteer was on that, and Dandy Puppeteer has a lot of really cool bags that they're releasing. And they even teased like a star bag, which was really cool. That was a bit ago, but yeah, so Tumblr, Instagram, Blue Sky, at Royal Sealy, obviously here on YouTube, at Royal Sealy. I don't upload regularly, so if you want to see what I have to say when I do have things to say, consider subscribing. Hopefully I'll talk to you soon. Outside of this, I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley. The 1.6 update came, and I finally got it on desktop. So thank you, and I'll see you later.